This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to our daily roundup. We have a packed episode today covering everything from medical breakthroughs to public health alerts. Let's get right into the headlines you need to know about today.
Scientists discover a reversible male birth control method.
Millions of eye drop bottles face a major recall.
A judge refuses to block mail-order abortion pills.
New research suggests tailored treatments for psychopathic traits.
Patients weigh the pros and cons of medical AI.
Understanding why alcohol makes us both happy and miserable.
The surprising mental health benefits of talking to strangers.
Midlife vitamin D levels may predict future brain health.
First, the male pill breakthrough.
Researchers at Cornell University have made a significant leap toward what many call the holy grail of contraception, a safe, reversible, and non-hormonal male birth control. In a study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, scientists used a compound called JQ1 to temporarily halt sperm production in mice. This molecule targets a specific stage of meiosis, which is the process where sex cells are created. By interrupting this cycle, the researchers were able to stop fertility without causing any permanent damage to the reproductive system. This is a major shift from previous attempts that often relied on hormones, which can carry a heavy load of side effects. The study showed that once the treatment stopped, the mice regained their fertility and went on to produce perfectly healthy offspring, proving that the process is truly reversible and safe for the next generation.
This is such a vital development, because current options for men are basically limited to condoms or vasectomies. While vasectomies are effective, they are often seen as permanent, and the surgery to reverse them isn't always successful or accessible. Professor Paula Cohen, who leads the Cornell Reproductive Sciences Center, pointed out that their team is one of the few focusing on the testis as a direct target for contraception. By focusing on meiosis rather than later stages of sperm development, they ensure that the intervention happens at the root. Although JQ1 itself might not be the final drug used in humans due to some neurological side effects, this proof of principle study opens the door for similar molecules that can achieve the same result. It offers a glimpse into a future where reproductive responsibility can be more evenly shared between partners using a reliable, non-permanent medical option.
Next, a massive product recall. KC Pharmaceuticals has initiated a massive recall of over 3.1 million bottles of lubricating eye drops due to concerns over sterility. The California-based company could not prove that these products were properly tested for contaminants, which poses a significant risk to consumers. These eye drops are sold under various brand names at major retailers like Walgreens, CVS, Kroger, and Rite Aid. Using non-sterile eye drops is particularly dangerous because the eye is a sensitive area where the immune system has a difficult time fighting off bacteria or fungi. If an infection takes hold in the eyeball, it can become severe very quickly. This isn't the first time this specific manufacturer has faced scrutiny. The FDA has noted sterility issues with them twice since 2023. This latest recall covers a wide range of products, including artificial tears, dry eye relief, and various advanced relief formulas, with expiration dates stretching through late 2026.
If you have purchased eye drops recently, it is crucial to check your medicine cabinet. The affected brands include Top Care, Good Sense, Leader, and several store-specific labels. You should look for specific lot numbers on the FDA's website to see if your bottle is part of the recall. Clinical pharmacologists warn that the scale of this recall is massive, potentially affecting over 1 million people across the country. The issue highlights ongoing concerns about manufacturing practices and the level of oversight provided by the FDA for over-the-counter products. When a company fails to guarantee sterility, they are essentially gambling with the vision of their customers. If you find that you have one of these products, the advice is to stop using it immediately and seek alternatives. It is a stark reminder to stay informed about the products we use daily, especially those that come into direct contact with our eyes.
Now to a legal update. A federal judge in Louisiana has declined to block the distribution of the abortion pill mifepristone by mail, at least for the time being. This ruling comes as a blow to Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill, who sought to pause the FDA's 2023 regulations that allow the medication to be sent through the mail. Judge David Joseph, a Trump appointee, decided to put the case on hold while the FDA completes an ongoing study of the drug. However, he did issue a warning that this pause is not indefinite. He has instructed the agency to provide an update on their investigation within 6 months. While the mail order system remains in place for now, the judge noted that the plaintiffs, including the state of Louisiana, are likely to succeed on the merits of their case eventually. This keeps the legal status of medication abortion in a state of flux as different jurisdictions battle over access.
The Attorney General argued that allowing these prescriptions to be filled by mail directly undermines Louisiana's near-total ban on abortion. Louisiana is one of 13 states that have strictly prohibited the procedure at all stages of pregnancy since the overturning of Roe v. Wade. On the other side, advocacy groups like Planned Parenthood emphasize that while this specific request for a block was denied, the threat to abortion access remains very real. Mifepristone, when used with misoprostol, is the most common method for ending a pregnancy in the United States. The Supreme Court previously refused to block mail-order access in a separate 2024 case, but that was based on the plaintiff's lack of standing rather than the core legality of the FDA's rules. This new challenge in Louisiana represents a different legal strategy that could eventually lead back to the nation's highest court as states continue to test the limits of federal regulations.
Moving to psychology research. Psychopathy is often viewed as an untreatable condition, but new research suggests that tailored interventions might actually work. While psychopaths make up only about 1% of the population, they are responsible for a disproportionate amount of violent crime. They are characterized by a lack of empathy, no remorse, and a manipulative personality. Scientists have found that people with these traits have a blunted physiological response to the suffering of others. For instance, a 2019 study showed that their pupils do not dilate when they see images of people in fear or pain, which is a standard involuntary reaction in most humans. This lack of internal feedback makes it incredibly difficult for them to learn that their actions cause harm. However, by understanding these specific biological and neurological differences, researchers are developing new cognitive behavioral programs that focus on these deficits, rather than using a one-size-fits-all approach that has failed in the past.
The failure of previous programs, like the one used in the UK prison system, highlighted the need for a more nuanced understanding of the psychopathic brain. Traditional therapy often relies on the patient feeling some level of distress or empathy to drive change, which simply doesn't apply here. New strategies are looking at how to teach individuals with these traits to recognize the consequences of their actions through different cognitive pathways. By focusing on the lack of physiological arousal, therapists can create exercises that help patients intellectually understand social cues they might not naturally feel. While the progress is modest, any reduction in reoffending rates is a major win for public safety. It shifts the conversation from seeing psychopathy as a permanent character flaw to viewing it as a complex neurological condition that requires specialized medical and psychological tools to manage effectively, potentially transforming how we handle high-risk individuals in the justice system.
Next, AI in the clinic. Many doctors are now turning to artificial intelligence to help with the heavy burden of administrative work. Dr. Eric Boos at the Cleveland Clinic is one of many practitioners using AI assistants to take notes during patient consultations. The idea is to return to a more traditional style of medicine, where the doctor can look the patient in the eye and listen intently without being tethered to a computer screen. These AI tools listen to the conversation and generate a summary within seconds of the appointment ending. This can save hours of tedious data entry, allowing doctors to spend more quality time with patients or even get home to their families earlier. Currently, about a third of medical practices are using or looking into these assistants. However, this shift brings up important questions about patient consent and the accuracy of the records being produced by these automated systems.
Patients should be aware that they have rights when it comes to this technology. Doctors are generally required to ask for verbal permission before activating an AI listener. If a patient feels uncomfortable or wants to discuss something particularly sensitive, they can ask the doctor to turn the tool off at any time. Another major concern is the tendency for AI to hallucinate or invent details that weren't actually part of the conversation. It is vital for healthcare providers to carefully review and edit these summaries before they become a permanent part of a medical history. As a patient, you should also take the time to read through your visit summaries to ensure everything is accurate. While AI can certainly reduce burnout for medical staff, the human element of verification remains essential to ensure that the convenience of technology doesn't lead to dangerous errors in a person's long-term health records.
Now, the science of alcohol. Alcohol is often described as pharmacologically promiscuous because of how it interacts with so many different systems in the brain at once. Unlike drugs like cocaine or MDMA, which target specific neurotransmitters, alcohol hits almost everything. It enhances GABA, which slows down brain signals to help you relax, while simultaneously dampening glutamate, which normally fires up your cells. This combination is what creates that initial buzzed feeling where your judgment and self-monitoring start to fade away. At the same time, it triggers the release of dopamine and endorphins, providing a boost in motivation and energy. This multi-pronged attack on the nervous system explains why alcohol is used for everything from celebrating to commiserating. It can act as a stimulant and a sedative in the same sitting, making it one of the most complex and widely used mind-altering substances in human history, but also one of the most difficult to quit.
As the concentration of alcohol in the blood increases, it moves from the frontal cortex to deeper, more primitive parts of the brain. This includes the cerebellum, which handles movement and balance, and eventually the brainstem, which controls vital functions like breathing and heart rate. This progression is why a few drinks can lead to slurred speech and stumbling, while excessive amounts can be life-threatening. The initial joy of a drink is often followed by a crash because the brain tries to compensate for the chemical shift. When the alcohol leaves your system, you're left with a deficit of those feel-good chemicals and an imbalance of excitatory signals, leading to the classic symptoms of a hangover and anxiety. Understanding this biological roller coaster helps explain why alcohol can make us feel so good in the moment but so miserable the next day, as our bodies struggle to return to a state of equilibrium.
Next, talking to strangers. While many of us are taught from a young age to avoid talking to strangers, new research suggests that these brief interactions are actually vital for our well-being. Researcher Gillian Sandstrom, author of the book Once Upon a Stranger, argues that engaging with people we don't know can significantly boost our mood and provide a sense of social connection. Even for introverts who might find the idea daunting, these small moments of novelty can add what scientists call psychological richness to our lives. When we talk to someone new, we often learn things we didn't expect and step outside of our usual social bubbles. This diversity of conversation partners is linked to greater life satisfaction. It turns out that the simple act of saying hello to a person in line or chatting with someone at a park can make us feel more grounded and happier as we go about our daily routines.
The benefits extend beyond just a quick mood boost. They can actually be life-changing. One anecdote from the research mentions a woman who landed her current job simply because her husband was gregarious enough to strike up a conversation with strangers at a restaurant. These interactions break the monotony of our day and remind us of our shared humanity. Sandstrom's work highlights that we often underestimate how much we will enjoy these encounters and how much the other person will appreciate them too. In an era where many people feel increasingly isolated, these micro-connections serve as a powerful antidote to loneliness. They help build a sense of community and trust within society at large. So, while it might feel a bit awkward at first to break the ice with a stranger, the science suggests that the rewards for our mental health and social fabric are well worth the initial discomfort of reaching out.
Finally, vitamin D and dementia. A long-term study published in Neurology Open Access suggests that your vitamin D levels in your 30s and 40s could have a profound impact on your brain health decades later. Researchers followed nearly 800 people for 16 years and found that those with higher vitamin D levels in midlife had significantly lower levels of tau protein in their brains as they aged. Tau is a key biomarker closely linked to the development of dementia and Alzheimer's disease. While the study doesn't definitively prove that vitamin D prevents dementia, it shows a strong association that suggests low levels could be a modifiable risk factor. Lead author Martin David Mulligan noted that maintaining a level above 30 nanograms per milliliter in early middle age might offer a layer of protection against the toxic protein deposits that damage brain cells over time. This adds to the growing body of evidence that early intervention is key to long-term cognitive health.
What makes this study particularly interesting is that it specifically tracked participants starting at an average age of 39, a time when most people aren't yet thinking about dementia. By the time the follow-up brain scans were conducted 16 years later, the difference in tau levels between those with high and low vitamin D was clear. Interestingly, the study did not find a similar link between vitamin D and amyloid beta, another protein associated with Alzheimer's, suggesting that vitamin D's protective effects might be specific to how tau accumulates. Only 5% of the participants were taking supplements at the start, and over a third had low levels, indicating that many people might be missing out on this potential brain benefit. While more clinical trials are needed to confirm these findings, it highlights a simple, measurable health metric that people can discuss with their doctors now to potentially safeguard their minds for the future.
That's our roundup for today. Thank you for joining us for these important updates. We'll be back tomorrow with more stories. Have a great day and stay informed.